One of the most innovative industries right now is AI, but we know that computing power and energy is going to heavily influence the effectiveness of AI in the future. And one of the industries that could be what would be the next iteration of the GPU, or what would be called QPUs, would be quantum computing. And one of the companies we've been following closely here, well, one of them was Big Bear. We see a pullback on Big Bear AI today, down in that $5 range, still holding above the 200-day moving average. But man, what a pullback today. Glad we made a video ahead of time to kind of outline some of the risks of when we have earnings come out in high stress situations. So quantum computing is one of the top industries heavily invested in by IBM, Microsoft, definitely seeing more investments from Amazon. Even Google came out with their new Willow quantum chip. Microsoft came out with a quantum chip along with Amazon's Ocelot. So you got big tech really moving into quantum. Even NVIDIA recently in 2025 introduced a division for quantum computing. Now, when we were talking with some of the companies like IBM or Microsoft or IonQ at a recent conference earlier this year, the main consensus was they were projecting the industry to grow to in the trillions of dollars. That's right, trillions with a T. Now, IBM announced they had over $1 billion in quantum computing revenue, but they were still, just $1 billion. So is that true? Are we lining up for something like that? Well, the reality is a lot of the stocks recently are having some knee-jolting reactions to the earnings. We saw quite a few stocks, even ones that were reporting positive earnings, recently dip. Now, APLD was one that was really good. We saw it go up. They're a data center builder. We saw Tesla take a really big nosedive earlier, about 2 weeks ago with their earnings. So, what are we looking at here? Well, we have our earnings coming out. We release them every week inside of Stockmate. So if you ever want to catch the earnings, you can always tune on into our daily live trading sessions and see our companies that we're focusing on for the week. And today, after hours, you had Big Bear, you had Oklo, so nuclear energy. We had AST Space Mobile, so they're a 5G cellular company that's kind of like Starlink, but for mobile internet. You got Archer Aviation. These are all interesting plays we saw today. But Tuesday, after hours, we got Rigetti stock. So this is a quantum computing company we've been following for a while. And again, if you want to ever get those targets, introduce yourself to other investors here, there's some really good resources. Lawrence is coming in. He's the top provider recently. I'm excited here to send him this cup. It's a cup that's got a trading plan on it. Shout out to Lawrence. But there's some good insights. And if you ever want to catch them, again, second link down below for Stockmate. And I would encourage you, as we're closing that lifetime access sale, if you want to join us there, it's the second link below. Now, when it comes to Rigetti, they have introduced this quantum computer, and we're really going to be focusing more on the financials in this video as they're reporting. But they have this quantum computer with this QPU here, and they're partnered with Amazon and Microsoft. You can see deployed here, single qubit gates, 99% fidelity. So fidelity is going to be the efficiency, the ability for them to actually do things like error correction and be able to, the individual qubits on this quantum computer become efficient. And they sell these quantum computers, actually, the Novera QPUs, to many different universities right now. And they're also just building them as they continue to develop the technology. They got partnerships with NASA, Oxford Instruments, Standard Chartered. They got Q Control, but notably AWS, Microsoft. So they are a quantum company. They're really focusing on innovating. And they are a market cap of about 5.16 billion. Now, we've been following them to really see how they can continue to come out with new developments, new products, new contracts. There's a lot of hype articles, and this is where it gets a little sticky. You got a lot of like tip ranks, barons, check out this quantum computing stock, buy, sell, or hold. It's very much, on the hype cycle for the articles. But from a technology perspective, we're talking about a company, quantum computers, that have the potential to be a massive supercharger for AI in that they could be more efficient than regular computers and working in tandem with AI. A lot of the examples are where they run with a CPU, a classical computer with AI through GPUs, data through a quantum computer to have it spit out an answer, and then take that answer, run it back through AI to then use the quantum computer again, which is a pretty high level stuff. And here's the deal with the financials. Their revenue has been, increasing year over year for sure. It maybe dipped a little in 2024. They're on track here in 2025, though only for a couple million. Their net income came in positive because they got some more cash rolling in from some partners like Quanta Computer. Maybe there was some backing there with NVIDIA as well. But really what we're looking at here, net income, negative 152 in December with barely positive revenue. And that's where we're looking here. Obviously on the chart side of things, they're kind of making that run up to the previous highs. They're trying to make this run and continue this run up to that $20 range. But most likely what we're going to see here is it's a big day tomorrow because we got the CPI report, right? So we're going to see the Fed come out with some announcements. So far, things weren't looking good. When I was at the gym this morning, I was looking at some of the news. You had a lot of new tariffs getting introduced. You had a tax, what is it, 15% more that NVIDIA or AMD is going to pay in chip sales, something like that. There's this potential for Rigetti to drop down in this $13.90 range unless they really surprise on earnings. But if they go with greater market direction we've seen the past day and into tomorrow, if they don't come out with some good Fed announcements or sentiment's not good, along with okay earnings, we could see a sell down here about 10-15%. Now, when we're looking at the patterns, a really close kind of eye would be on this previous resistance and support level here that's been acting as a support for the last month or so into about $15.50. If we can hold that level, we'll be watching there closely. But again, I wouldn't bet or call on earnings as we normally don't. Really important. I just made a video about it today with, for example, Big Bear. The whole video is we don't bet or call earnings. If there's a long-term position that you can add when an earnings dip, great. It's a good time to buy. If it goes up and you want to take a little profits on a long-term position, great. But if you're in a short-term position, betting on earnings could be either, really good or detrimental. And it's a gamble that I don't encourage anybody to take. So while they're quantum computing and there's been a lot of momentum in the quantum market, and I think we're even going to a quantum conference later this year, which I'll be excited to announce. There's another conference we'll be most likely attending, and it looks like it's trending upwards, and maybe we see those all-time highs. What we're really looking at here is a potential sell down in that $15 range to about a $13 price sell down in that trend. Now, if it breaks down even further, maybe $12 a share, but that would be more aligned with their true value. So why is that their true value? Well, when you look at their net income, there just isn't much yet. So it's a lot of what we talked about, buying what could be. They got negative net income. We're looking for them to continue to develop. In long term, I love the company. Short term, it's just not caught up with the financials. It's not there yet. Now, balance sheet, on the other hand, too, assets are pretty up there, which is great. Liabilities are low. That looks healthy, and they're seeing some increases there in their total cash on hand, which is great. So balance sheet, total assets increasing, total equity doing well with cash and short-term investments up over 100% year over year. But again, what we're watching here is that net income on the annual basis is down about 167%. You see that net income going negative? We really want to see them kind of shore up the net income negative, try and turn some more profits, or at least we want to push them to commercialize. They're very much in a research base. They're trying to, they are deploying into Microsoft Azure, for example, or AWS. It's great, but they're still in the research phase, and they're still starting to, get their legs here in the quantum computing market. You also got simulating plasma wave propagation on a superconducting quantum chip. That's really exciting stuff. Those are the types of things we love to see. But the other thing that we're watching here is the holders. Institutional interest around 32%, with more increased positions than decreased positions. Is it good? Yes, it shows institutional attracting value, getting more momentum. But what is the problem? The problem is that they have Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street sitting here watching their earnings. And since they hold so much of this company, one little sell from any of these companies could potentially, really heavily impact the stock here on their earnings tomorrow. So it's fragile, it's fragile in that they could easily see that drawdown. Now, I know they're about a $5 billion market cap, but these are pretty big holders, and it's just something to watch out for. Now, we're going to be looking again for that margin for profit on a good buy here. If things go really well, let's say they have a good earnings, that's great. Our long-term positions, which we have, we're up about 50% over there. We can continue to rise that long-term position, maybe get up to 65% profit or 70% profit. That would be a great run up to previous highs. But otherwise, kind of holding the long-term position is what we're doing. Maybe even anticipating a little bit of a sell down, about 10, 15% could happen there on these earnings. When we're looking at the RSI and the MACD, really not a whole lot for you. It's kind of right in the middle, dead smack in the middle, kind of consolidating here before their earnings. Now, if you guys are looking at quantum stocks, you want to get more breakdowns, we do the full technical fundamental analysis in our daily live trading. If you ever want to join us in Stockmate there, it's the second link down below in the description. It is a huge sale there we got going for the summer that is ending soon for lifetime access to our daily live trading. If you want to see my entries, see my exits, and surround yourself with like-minded individuals, then I would encourage you to simply just take a look. It's the second link below. Appreciate you all. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Hit that like button if I earned it. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.